Okay, today's lesson is called the discriminant. It is part of the quadratic formula. This is the quadratic formula here. And the discriminant tells you if that quadratic will have one or two solutions, and if the solutions are real or imaginary. So I put this here for you. We will be using the quadratic formula in the next lesson to find the solutions. The discriminant is just the part under the square root, b squared minus 4ac. That's just what we'll be doing today, and it tells you the type of solutions and how many solutions. If you want to know where we find A, B, and C, it's from the standard form quadratic. It's the coefficients in front of x squared, in front of x, and C is the constant. Okay? Now I'll show you, when you're looking at the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Once you simplify that into a single number, if the discriminant is equal to 0, that tells you it only has one solution. If the discriminant does not equal 0, maybe it's 45 or negative 10, whatever, it means that the quadratic will have two solutions. And now the types of solutions. So if the discriminant is a positive number or 0, the solutions are real numbers. If the discriminant is a negative number, the solutions are imaginary. So now I'll go through a couple of problems how you will use the discriminant. So with this quadratic, I use the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4 times a times c. So I need to find my a, b, and c. A is the number in front of x squared. There's no number here, which means a is 1. B is the number in front of x. You include the negative 2. So b is negative 4. And c is the number by itself over here. It's positive 4. So I'm going to plug it into this formula here, b squared. So b squared, and b is negative 4, minus 4 from the formula times a, which is 1, times c, which is 4. So I start simplifying. Negative 4 squared means negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, minus 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times 4 is also 16. Then 16 minus 16 is 0. So let's see what this means. The discriminant was 0. So if the discriminant is 0, that means that this quadratic will have one solution. So it's one solution. And then the type of solution, let's see. If the discriminant is positive or 0, our discriminant was 0, our solution will be a real number. So I could say one real solution, or the solution is a real number. Probably the better way to say it is one real solution. Okay, now let's do this one. So A is negative 7, B is 8, and C is negative 1. I'm using this formula here for the discriminant, b squared. B is 8, minus 4 times A, negative 7, times C, negative 1. 8 squared is 64, minus Let's just use this minus here. Let's do 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. And negative 28 times negative 1 is positive 28. So this negative stayed right here. I just took positive 4 times negative 7 to get negative 28. And negative times negative was positive, but there's still this. Ultimately, what you could do right here, if the negatives kind of confuse you, you have a total of 1, 2, 3 negatives. If you have an odd amount of negatives, it's going to be negative still. If there was an even amount, like say this was positive 1, an even amount of negatives will be positive. Okay. And now we will do 64 minus 28. It's going to be 6, 56, 36. This is a positive number, so let's see what this means. It's not equal to 0, so this symbol means not equal to 0. It means it's 2 solutions. So 36 means that it has 2 solutions, and 36 is a positive number, so those solutions are real numbers. So I will say that this quadratic has 2 real solutions. Okay. And then our last problem. A is negative 6, B is 10, and C is negative 6. B squared is 10 squared minus 4 times A, negative 6, times C, negative 6. Okay. 10 squared, I should have put the squared outside. 10 squared is 100. And I have an odd amount of negatives, negative times negative times negative. Well, 2 of these negatives will be positive, but then a positive times a negative ultimately will be a negative. Now we just have to worry about the numbers. So let's do 6 times 6 is 36. And then 36 times 4 is going to be 4, 2, 12, 13, 14, I think 144. Okay? And then 100 minus 144 will be negative 44. Now let's see what this means. So negative 44 is not 0, means there's 2 solutions. It is a negative number, so this means that the 2 solutions are imaginary. So I have 2 imaginary solutions from this problem. Oh, here I wrote it there. Sorry. Okay, that's it. Please ask me if you have any questions.